So I was just improvising with intervals there, and intervals are what I want to talk about in this lesson. This is part of a series I'm doing. This is my New Year's series, 10 Tips for Intentional Practice. And this is the second installment, which hopefully not too confusingly is number 9. I'm counting down from 10, 9, 8, 7, and we'll get to 1 at the end. So what does 9 have to do with intervals? Well, there's a certain kind of magic, I would say, with regard to intervals and the number 9. So check this out. This is an A major scale. I'll just play 1 octave's worth. And if we just number these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this interval from A to B, we call that a second because this is 1, this is 2. So this interval is called a second from A up to B. From B to A, that's a seventh, because if we started here and went up the A scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So those are 7 notes apart. These are 2 notes apart. 7 and 2 is 9. So a second and a seventh get us back to the same note that we started on, but an octave higher. And that's true of any interval. If I start on A and play C sharp, that's a third. From C sharp up to A is a sixth. 3 and 6 is 9. If I go from A to D is a fourth, D to A is a fifth. Again, 9. You can keep going, you can check the math, it's always going to work out. It's good if you're new at memorizing your intervals. This can be helpful to realize that they kind of work in pairs. A third and a sixth have a kind of relationship. A second and a seventh have a kind of relationship. Also interesting, I think, is that this is a major second, meaning 2 half steps. And this is a minor seventh, right? So if this was a minor second, this would be a major seventh. So there's this inverse relationship. When the lower interval gets smaller, obviously the bigger interval gets, or the upper interval gets bigger. I don't know, I find this stuff interesting. I hope you do too. But if you're new at understanding intervals on the guitar, this might be a little trick that you can take with you when you're working and see how these relationships work. If you're brand new at this kind of thing, at intervals, I might try this. So I'm going to play the A major scale again, but now instead of starting here, I'm going to play all 2 octaves worth. And what I might do is go a second and then not even go up the octave, but just start on each note and go up a second. So I started on A and went up a second. Now I'm going to start on B and go up a second. Start on C sharp and go up a second. Start on D and go up a second. E and go up a second. You'll notice they're not all the same. That's a minor second. So a major second is 2 frets, 2 half steps. A minor second is 1 fret or 1 half step. So it goes whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. That's how a major scale is constructed. Again, from the beginning, whole step, half step, whole, half. Okay. So the exercise was to go up a second from every note. You can keep going. And you'll want to do that with every interval type. So you could do that with thirds. fourths. With fifths. Is it clear what I'm doing? I'm starting on each note of the scale and then adding another note that's a particular interval away. And once you can do that, going up the scale and coming back down again, then you can come back to this 9 thing and go like up a third, up a sixth, then go to the next note of the scale, up a third, up a sixth, next note of the scale, up a third, up a sixth, next note of the scale, up a third, up a sixth, or you could do up a seventh, up a second. And not only by doing something like that are you learning about intervals, you're getting a kind of a deeper awareness of the scale into your hands, because you're moving around, not just, when people just go from the lowest note to the highest note and back down, I call that swimming laps, because we're just kind of going side, one end of the pool to the other. But when you move around in a particular way with a particular intention, your hand learns to do different kinds of things. It's like maybe if you go to the gym and while you're doing your workout on some machine or with a kettlebell or whatever, you look across the gym and somebody's doing something with a kettlebell that you've never seen before. And you're like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. I never thought of that. Or some kind of stretch or exercise. You want to keep your hand fresh. A little bit of muscle memory can be valuable, but overall, we don't want our hand to just be in autopilot mode. We want to have intention with what we imagine, what we hear, send that to our fingertips and have it come out on the guitar. So that can come out of this kind of practice. Also, you might stumble onto a cool melodic idea that eventually becomes a song. It's hard to make melodies when you're swimming laps, but when you have repeated notes and intervallic leaps, if you listen to melodies that you know and love, there's going to be more repeated notes and more intervals and kind of a structure that you don't get from just going do, re, mi, and back and forth like that. So check that out. Okay, that's the stuff about intervals that I wanted to talk about and the magic of 9. Hey, thanks for tuning in to this week's tip. It's part of a series. I don't know if you knew that, but I'm doing this New Year's series called 10 Tips for Intentional Practice. It's kind of like a New Year's resolution series specifically for guitar players. I've come up with 10 things that I think are important for just about any kind of player, whatever your level, whatever your interest is. I think you'll find something here that will help you set a good intention for growth on the guitar in this year. If you haven't already subscribed to Guitar Tips, that's this channel, right now would be a perfect time to subscribe. And if you liked this video, then please give it a thumbs up, like, and make sure to tune in next week for another tip in the series.